I call this meeting together of August 16th, 2016. We will change the agenda around this a little bit and let Joe Lurch come forward so that he can get on his way if he wishes to, or he can stay and attend the whole meeting.
Okay. Well, thank you, Chairman Slemp. My name is Joe Lurch. I'm with the Virginia Association of Counties, and I want to thank you for adjusting your agenda to have me first. I will not take too long because I know you have probably a business that you want to get to. I also want to thank Mr. Mosley for directing me to where to go when I pulled into the parking lot. That was very kind of me. I am new to the Virginia Association of Counties. I started on June 1st. We've had a few changes at VACO. As you may know, Jim Campbell had retired effective June 30th, and Dean Lynch is our new executive director. And like I said, I started June 1st. We also had another employee start July 1st, Katie Boyle. And so we're getting ourselves acquainted with our members across the state. And Dean wanted me to come down since I was going to be in the neighborhood and stop by and introduce myself and some of the work that we're doing at VACO right now. So I'll just maybe run just through a few things that we're doing on our calendar and then talk a little bit about some other issues and the value. And then open it up to any questions or comments that you all might have for me that I can take back to our headquarters. We're going to have our County Officials Summit later this week in Richmond. It's a great opportunity where our members get together, help develop our legislative program for advocacy in the fall. It's also
It's on $3 million.
state. Also, Secretary Hazel for Health and Human Services, he's going to address opiates as one of the issues that the state is experiencing. We're also going to have Secretary Brian Moran talk about public safety across the state. I mentioned that the steering committees, and two of the ones that I staff, economic development and planning, and also general government, we're dealing with all sorts of issues across the state. Broadband is one of them. How do we get broadband access to those parts of the state that could benefit from them? Also dealing with siting of wireless towers. How does that work with local comprehensive plans and zoning? Those are some of the issues. Probably one that you may have heard about is the short-term rentals, Airbnb. That's another issue that we're dealing with down in Richmond at the state level. Obviously, probably the biggest issue that we're dealing with right now is the state budget. I think it was just yesterday that the governor came out of a meeting with his economic advisors and said the revenues are not looking as rosy as they thought they were just even 3 or 4 months ago. We're going to be attending all the staff at the end of next week, a report by the governor to the money committees at the General Assembly to kind of break down where are we falling short and what are the plans for adjusting the revenue outlook for the Commonwealth and how that may affect that state and local relationship for the services that you all provide, that the state mandates, and the assistance that they give you. Coming up, we've been doing a series of regional meetings. There was one here, I think, last year in the fall. We're going to have a regional meeting for Regions 12 and 13 in Russell County on September 22nd. If you could make that, that would be great. That would be from 6 to 8 p.m. It's a chance for you all to come and share some of the issues with the staff, with the other counties that are in attendance, and for the legislators and their aides that come to that meeting as well. Obviously, we've got the annual conference coming up November 12th through the 15th at the Homestead in Bath County. That's another great opportunity for education, developing our legislative program for the General Assembly when it starts in 2017. Just to talk a little bit about the value of VACO that we hope that we're giving you. Key is communication, the information that we give you in a timely manner, in a useful manner. A lot of that is just disseminating the information to you, whether it's through our newsletter, electronic newsletter that goes out every 2 weeks, or whether it's by a special email that we say, hey, we've got a burning issue that you need to know about at the local level that may affect your operations, and also getting input back from you on the issues that you see. Obviously, when the General Assembly is in session, Capital Contact, which is our newsletter that goes out relatively frequently, 2 to 3 times a week. It apprises you not only of the issues at the General Assembly, but asks you to act on behalf of all the counties on issues that are near and dear to informing legislators on that. The advocacy part, through the steering committees that we'll be meeting at the county's official summit and then following up at the annual meeting, we'll be developing our legislative priorities for the upcoming year. You know, just one of the ones that I know is coming to the fore, York County is bringing it before the Finance Steering Committee, is to put counties and cities on equal taxing authority, whether it's meals, tax, or cigarettes, to kind of get that parity at that level. So it'll be interesting to see how that might play out through the development of our legislative program and moving forward. Some of the additional value that I think that we provide is through VACORP, which is our pooled liability, pooled insurance program, whether it's property insurance, liability insurance, workers' comp, disability. I could go on. Those are some of the things that I think that we provide, and I hope we're providing the value to you all here. That being said, I wanted to keep it brief. If there's any questions that you may have about what we're doing at VACO, although I'm a new employee, I'll try to do my best to answer them, or if there's just some things that you want to bring up that you want us to take back to Richmond that I can communicate to the staff and to the executive director there. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Anybody got a question? Okay.
And I hope to stay around for a little bit. I do have to move on. I'm going to be part of an informational panel tomorrow in Wise,
Okay.
looking at utility scale solar. That's one of those things where we help to provide information to our counties at the local level. I was recently in Southampton County, Virginia, on the other end of the state, before their planning commission. They've had several applications for solar farms, which they're not really farms. They're really just they're just big power plants. But they take up, I think the largest one they're considering, it will take up about 1,200 acres. And some of the issues, and this gets back to the communications and the education we do, is how does that affect local land use? How does it affect the local taxation at the local level? And so those are some of the issues that when we come out, we hope that we can share some of the information that we know. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Back on their regular schedule, we'll have a report from Alan Fortner, our animal control.
Mr. Fortner is currently out on a call after hours, so he's not able to be here.
Okay, Josh Fleener, litter control.
Good evening. For the month of July, the community service totals, there's 141 people in the program now. Of the 141, 96 participated for 1,521 hours, and they picked up 1,209 bags. That was an average of 11 hours per person and 11 hours or 16 hours per person and 11 bags per person. 68% participation. 17 people completed their community service. 27 was removed for inactivity, and I signed up 26 new people. I've submitted all the paperwork to DEQ for the grant. I've not heard anything from them, but we generally don't hear anything till October till they get their funding, and then they tell us, usually send me the award letter and tell us the amount we get. But all that paperwork has been submitted. I've been working on getting my materials ready for the cigarette litter prevention program, and I'll be doing that at the fair this year. I'll be handing out pocket ashtrays and ashtrays that people can put in their cup, and I'll be put smoker poles out there for people to put their cigarette butts. I'll be out there on Wednesday, the first night, which is Wednesday, August 31st, and I'll be out there the last night, Saturday, September the 3rd. And we just do that to try to keep people from just throwing their cigarette butts down, and to educate them that cigarette butts is litter, and to try to put them in the proper place and stuff like that. I have 16 of the smokers poles. I'll use 10 of them out there. 2 of them will go to the airport, and then I will replace the ones around the courthouse and put new ones in around the courthouse. I've also been working on getting things ready for Public Lands Day, which is an event that I do with KSVB. That's Saturday, September 21st or 24th. We'll be doing things at the Stone Creek Outdoor Classroom. We've got a new recycling thing to put in for pops and cans. It actually looks like a trash can, but we'll install it there. We're going to put 2 new benches in there and make sure the trail's ready and stuff, and then we'll be doing various activities with the kids and stuff. It's a public event, anybody's welcome, and I will put this in the paper when it gets closer to the time. I've also been going around checking on the dump sites, getting ready to do the cleanups, which will start in October, November, depending on the weather. I've got 7 new ones to add to the list. I've also been working on the educational presentation that I'll do with the schools. This year I'll be doing it's the operation of a landfill. I've had training at the last KSV meeting in St. Paul how to use the model, and I'll get the model from them. There's 4 different age groups. There's K through 2nd, 3rd through 5th, 7th and 8th, and then the 6th, and then the high school 9th through 12th. The 6th graders come out for Kids in the Creek, and I'll do the same presentation to Kids in the Creek for the 6th graders. I've also been trying to raise money to get sponsorship for the KSVB golf tournament. It's August the 26th at Bristol. KSVB is the one that put the park in at Stone Creek, and they do various things throughout Southwest Virginia, so I try to help them raise money and stuff. I've also been working on the complaints. There's 2 in Ewing. One of the properties is nearly complete, and they've started, and the other they've started cleaning up, but it's starting to get back in the same shape. So I'm going to contact them and ask them why they've not finished it, and tell them that they do have a deadline and they do need to get that cleaned up. In Jonesville, the one on Town Branch, the people filed for and they received a demo permit, and they have destroyed the house, and they are supposed to be bringing in a bulldozer to bulldoze the rest in and clean up the rest of the property. They have removed the vehicles, and like I said, they have destroyed the house and stuff, so they're in the process of trying to clean that up. The one at the end of the 4-lane after you get off Town Branch before you get on, I finally got a hold of someone, and they asked me what they needed to do, and I told them that they would more likely need to contact the building inspector's office and get them a permit and tear the building down and haul the materials off and stuff. But I'm working with the building inspector on that because the house is inhabitable and stuff, and the grass needs to be mowed and stuff, so I am working with them trying to get that one taken care of as well. And then on Town Branch there's another house, but the only thing with it, there seems to be nobody living there, and the grass has grew up around it, and then that falls into an issue of there's not an ordinance as far as telling people how tall and short they can keep their grass and stuff. So I'm working on that to see what I can do if no one's living there, and see if I can get them to, at least take care of the grass and mow the grass and stuff. But there is no trash and stuff around that property.
Approximately where on Town Branch is that?
The one is you come off the old road if you went by the tennis courts, and it's straight right there.
That should be in the town limits. You might want to discuss that with the town.
Okay.
Because I think they have an ordinance on that. That is within town limits right
Okay.
there.
All right. In Keokee, there was a house that burnt down, and I spoke with the gentleman and stuff, and he's supposed to be bringing in a contractor to remove the foundation and get rid of the rest of the stuff out of the area. In Woodway, there was a house that had burnt down and now it's collapsed. I'm also working with the building inspector on that one because the house is caved in and it's inhabitable. There's no trash or nothing, it's just the house is fell in and stuff like that, so we're trying to get something done there. In St. Charles, on the Virginia Penn property and stuff, I'm working on that to get that cleaned up. I've put that on the list. And then the person that was charged with illegal dumping, they were assigned 100 community service hours, and they've signed up with me to start picking up trash to work off those hours. Also, people that had piled the stuff up from the church and stuff, they've started taking some of it off. Some of the stuff they had covered up and said they were going to use in the new facility and stuff, but they have started taking some of it off, so I'm still monitoring that one. And then in Okanee, where the house, it was causing rats to get in other people's house, that property was actually sold to new owners, and the new owners have started cleaning up. They've tore down the trailer that the people were using for storage and stuff. They've hauled off several bags of trash and stuff, and they are trying to clean it up and stuff. So I have talked to the new owners, and they're aware of the situation, and they're working on getting that cleaned up. And then I also have 6 new complaints that I'm going out to check on this week that's on my list and stuff. The agenda for June and July is to work on the presentation for schools, to do the cigarette prevention program at the fair, continue monitoring the community service workers, the golf tournament in Bristol, and then also to keep monitoring the complaints and stuff. Does anyone have any questions?
No, I'm just glad we're finally making some progress on some of those issues
Yeah, me too.
that need to be taken care of.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Joe.
Will you be in the office tomorrow?
Yes.
Remind me, copy of that ramp.
Okay.
Okay. Solid waste. Gary?
Good evening. Report for August, the garbage collected for the month of July was 1,192.74 tons, and the tires collected were 3.15 tons. This past week, I was asked to speak at the principal's meeting by our superintendent of schools, Dr. Austin. It was a very good opportunity. We had many principal changes in the school system. So I discussed with them the importance of the recycle program and how it affects the solid waste department. I discussed with them why we built the small recycle buildings. I placed them at each school back in 2011. I also gave them some information on our cost to transport and dispose of our waste to the city of Bristol, and that all recycled materials is monies not spent on the waste. So since they are our biggest generator of recycled products, I requested they help to increase our recycling efforts through each school day and also through our after-school activities such as sporting events and different things. So the meeting went really well, and hope we can have an increase in our recycling. For routine maintenance, our mowing schedule, it's continued through the summer on a 2-week schedule. At times the weather's been difficult, kind of interfered a little bit with our mowing schedule, but the property around the transfer station, it's been bush hogged, and at about half the time that it used to take since we received our new bush hog. So that was a big help. Most all the areas at the transfer station that can't be covered with the tractor have been taken care of by weed eating. So we have all the property clean at this time. Also, the airport is in need of some changes that will help with the maintenance on long-term maintenance. The post at the windsock, it's very difficult to change the windsock due to its design. Spoken to Mr. Poe, we decided to change over to a system to be easier, a little safer to change. About the possibility of damaging the windsock and the frame, the lights on it. Also, the shingles that had been torn off the terminal building at the airport, they have been repaired. Let's see, the ground cable connects the fueling station to the aircraft. That's also been repaired. We've repaired several cracks on the asphalt on the runway and the taxiway a couple years ago, and we now have some new ones, and some of the original cracks that we have repaired have started to lengthen again and actually spread a little bit more. So I talked to Mr. Poe, we're going to hopefully this fall, maybe when it cools down a little bit, maybe we can work on some of that, get some of those cracks and stuff, get some of those addressed. We've got a few items on our trucks that are in need of repairs. Most of them are minor repairs and are waiting on parts for them. We've also got a few items that are in need of repair but under warranty from some of the new trucks. Just trying to work on scheduling and getting with the dealers. One of the most recent dealers that we work with has just changed hands, so in them changing hands, it's kind of put a little bit of a halt to getting everything scheduled. But hopefully this coming week, it's not anything that interferes with the operation, it's just something that we need to cover, you know, under warranty. So it's not really affecting the operation, but it's something that we'll be getting on, you know, underway and getting repaired here in the next week or so. We'll be adding an update to one of our garbage trucks this winter. Once the mowing season kind of slows down, we get time to where we can get in the garage and work on other items and stuff. We'll do that update. And our dumpster fires, I talked to y'all once before about this. At the open sites, they're still a factor. I received information from Lewis Moore on the fires that the fire department in Jonesville has responded to. And the calls that they have responded to and documented were 20 since May of 2014 at Hurricane Bridge alone, and 2 at the Hunter's Gap site. I went through the dates that he provided me with that information. They only had 2 listed that they responded to at the Hurricane Bridge site this year. But we had a record of 10 additional fires just this year that was either burnt down to the point that when someone called them, you know, it wasn't necessary to call and send them out, you know, because there was nothing left to burn. They had 2 documentation of fires at Hunter Gap, and we had 7 additional dumpsters documented there as well this year. I did not receive any documentation from Dryden or St. Charles, but we had documentation of 11 fires since February of this year at 606, also Turner's Tipple site. And we had 14 fires documented at the Olinger site just this year alone. So, and like I said before, each time they get burnt, you know, that's just, they don't last much longer after they get burnt. So, I mean, that's quite a few fires just since this year. I just kind of wanted to make you aware of that, those numbers that we did have. Like I said, I didn't get the documentation from Dryden or St. Charles to back anything else, and I didn't get anything from Kilkeys. Under new construction, our skill house is 99% complete. We still have to install the outside display, which is a new requirement by Virginia Weights and Measurements, and that's to allow the incoming customers to see their weight from their vehicle, and they'll also be able to see it in the rearview mirror when they come back on the scale to get their empty weight. It's kind of a requirement now, and that's the only thing we have left to get the scale house ready to operate. Yeah, it was included in the scales when the scale company put it in. It was included, and they'll wire it up. We just have to mount it. And once they all the conduits already been run, everything's in place. And once we get to the point that we can receive garbage at the transfer station, then we'll activate the scales and deactivate the old scales, because we can't have 2 scales in operation at the same time. So, but once we get really close to that point, they'll come back, you know, once we get, the only thing we have left inside is to put the desk, computer, chair, you know, that kind of thing, you know, as far as the inside goes. But once we get that, you know, set up and the operating program in place, they'll come in and, you know, check their scales just to make sure everything's good to go. And then, you know, then we'll be ready to operate. But, and the transfer station it's nearly complete by the general contractor, but we still have, you know, the interior work to build on the new transfer station, as far as the office and break room, restroom, that kind of thing. And then, which are upcoming projects which is, like I mentioned, start on the building the restroom, break room, office space in the transfer station. Just found out today the pool will be closed this Saturday. They'll clean up their part Sunday. So next week, depending on their schedules and operation, we'll either sometime during next week or the following week we'll go down and start the winterization process and removing all the, you know, like the paper towels, bring them in for storage through the winter, get all that kind of stuff out of there. Anything that might freeze during the winter, we'll bring up, keep in here in our office where it can keep, keep heat to it and everything. So we'll get all that winterized. And other project would be the airport updates and mowing all the property at the airport. And that's all I have. Yeah.
I would come up last week and Gary gave me a tour of everything out there. He's got a nice facility out there. It's clean. He did have everything bush hog nice, and we took a tour of everything out there. And if you haven't been out there, you ought to go out there and check it out. He's got an operation out there, and I think he's doing a good job too.
Gary does a great job. I appreciate what you do, Gary.
Any more questions?
Thank you, Gary.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Craig, we have the treasurer's report here for us. Next thing is public expression. We'll open the floor for people to come up, express their opinion. They have to come up to the microphone, state your name. You have approximately 3 minutes to speak your mind and address your comments to the chairman. Open the floor. Anybody got anything to say? Come on up. Come on, Lewis.
Mr. Chairman, member of the board, I apologize for not getting back on the agenda, but I didn't get back with Jenny in time. But we talked last meeting, regular meeting, about our EVAC insurance. Jason and of course Megan's here today representing him, have got a new price. Nathan had asked about picking up patients at the other hospitals that where we would take them to. Just one little comment update. Jonesville Rescue Squad flew out 4 patients since last time we met, and I know of at least 5 other flights that went out of the county. But that's how much we've utilized the service in 30 days. But like I said, Megan's got you an update, Nathan, on the price of what it would take. I think it's a worthwhile policy if the county could see the way to it. Thank you.
Hello, thank you for allowing me to speak. Nathan, I believe it was you last time when one of our directors, Jason Monday, spoke, and he actually proposed the countywide municipal site plan to cover all of the residents of Lee County with Air EVAC memberships through the Air Medcare network. So basically, if anybody was flown out within the county, they would be covered. They would have no out-of-pocket expenses. And I think it was you that asked if we could extend coverage to 3 of the local hospitals that are actually out of county. And we went back and we done some research, and we found out that we would actually be able to honor that. So, for example, if someone is in Wise County or a neighboring county and they have to be transferred to another hospital, we would actually be able to honor payment for that as well, since they're not inside of Lee County. Now, that did affect the price somewhat. Not a big increase, but it did. The original quote was for $106,130, and after we extend it to three additional local hospitals, that would put the new municipal site plan quote at $125,233. And then, as Jason stated last month when he did this proposal, there is room for negotiation. So if this is something that you guys feel like you want to move forward in, please reach out to myself or to Jason. I'm your local membership coordinator I cover all of Lee County. And then Jason, the gentleman who was here last time, he is my director. So either one of us would be happy to answer any of your questions or sit down and go over some more information.
So what hospital was that you?
Oh yeah, and you guys would we could leave it up to you all to decide which 3 hospitals. The hospitals that I have that would be up for grabs, the choice. I have Lonesome Pine Hospital. There is, let me go back, Norton Community Hospital, Middlesboro ARH, Hawkins County Memorial is on here. Hancock County Hospital is on here, and then there's additional ones, Claiborne Medical Center, Indian Path Medical Center, and then the other ones that are listed on here are actually the trauma centers that we would actually be flying them to. So any of those hospitals, local hospitals, we could also pick up in Harlan, Kentucky as well. So if you have anybody that go to the ARH hospital out there, we could fly out there and then transport them to Holston Valley, Johnson City Medical Center, wherever the closest appropriate medical center to save their life. That's where we take them. But we can definitely do that. Is there any? Holston Valley, if you wish to make that one of your choices, we could possibly use that because we, doing this research, we just done it for 3 local hospitals, so we didn't actually rule it out to be specific. But if you all have a lot of residents who go to Holston Valley and then have to be transported to another hospital, we could do that. Typically, we fly them to Holston Valley from Lee County. Anywhere in Lee County, that's one of the hospitals that we choose already. But if they're needing to be transferred from Holston Valley to another facility, I can look into that, but I'm pretty for sure that that's doable.
Let me make sure I understand
Sure.
what your proposal is. On your initial proposal, it covered any Lee County resident who was picked up for a med flight in Lee County. In other
Yes.
words, you pick them up on site or to a pad where they've been transported to for that pickup. The additional coverage that you're talking about now would be if an ambulance picks them up and transports them to, say, Lonesome Pine, and they need medevac from Lonesome Pine, then it covers them, even though, because they've been transported out of Lee County, it would cover them, but there is an additional charge.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That is correct. Yes.
And we would have the choice to pick 3 hospitals that they might be taken to by a rescue squad unit. Okay, I just want to make sure I had it clear in my head what we're talking about. That's why they're not including Indian Path and the others, because typically, if they're picked up here, they're flown to a larger facility to begin with.
Yes.
So it would be rare that they had to be flown from Indian Path Holston Valley or Johnson City to another facility. That would be specialized. They'd have to be burn patients or something that required additional treatment beyond what they could offer. So
Well, I think what John brought up last time was the number of people that actually they would get them to a trauma unit, Lonesome Pine, fastest place they could get them, and then it'd be decided, hey, we've got to med flight them somewhere else. And since how we had no hospital, is either they were going to pick them up in the county or they wasn't going to get covered. So it would pick up the numbers a lot on them being able to get flown out.
And then as Jason stated last month, the money that people would be paying out of pocket for the flights, which is pretty enormous. I don't want to give an exact quote, but it's up there.
I had your insurance.
Okay, good. So thank you.
I've
Yes.
had it for a few years.
We're glad to have you. The out-of-pocket expense associated with this it's substantial. So that money that people would be paying would actually be coming back into the local economy and staying here in Lee County. And to me, I just think that's awesome. I think that's a benefit. This is basically the cost of about 3 flights. So after about 3 flights, then it's pretty much it's paid for itself, and all the money's just staying here and not leaving. But if there's no other questions, I'll thank you for having me. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I'd like, I have it on copy, if you want to pass this around. This is a list of hospitals from Lee County, or from the courthouse.
Here, Louis, you have any idea?
Excuse me?
Flights this year? You said 4 since last time we spoke. You have any idea what that'd be this year?
We have flown to Jonesville about, I'm gonna say about 12. This was this month has just been exceptional. We had some trauma stuff we normally don't ever deal with. Not just us, anybody in the county. We had a couple of cases that happened that I haven't seen in several years.
$3 million.
Anybody else? Okay, if there's nobody else, we'll close the floor for public expression. Next thing is approval of last month's minutes. Everybody taking a look at the minutes and have no problems with what was recorded. I'll take over the board, board for a nomination to approve.
Make a motion to approve minutes.
Here's a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, the county administrator has reported that the payroll has been issued. And next thing, approval of distributions. That has been done. Financial,
No, we haven't approved
we haven't,
disbursements yet, no.
we haven't done that yet?
No.
Okay. Then I guess we need a nomination to,
I make a motion.
motion to do that. I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we got supplemental appropriations, what we need to take care of. Okay. Take a look at those and we can approve those all at once or individually at your choice. Open the floor for
Motion to
Motion.
approve, Mr. Chairman.
all of them at once. Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, new business. Board appointments. First thing we have is the open positions for Southwest Virginia Community Corrections. Josh has had that position. I open the floor for a nomination for that, his replacement, or for him to continue.
I make a motion that we reappoint Mr. Fleener, Southwest Virginia Community Corrections Board.
Anybody want to second that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next is the Airport Authority. Mr. Paul Johnson has that position, and I nominate him to continue.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Regional, what's that one?
The Regional Preparedness Advisory Council. That's an alternate. That's the one that Mr. Bailey spoke of last month. He's the
Okay.
appointee, and they just need an alternate in case he can't attend.
He never did get back. I never heard nothing on
There's a
that.
blurb in his report for the month in the last paragraph there in regards to the question last month about qualifications for an appointee to the RPAC 1 or the RPAC I. No one has returned my emails. I'm not sure who he was supposed to be contacting, whether it was about qualifications on it or whether he was actually had some people he was contacting. But he just said, being an active member within the group, the main focus is communication and radios. So if you want to table it again, it's an alternate appointment. It's not someone who would have to attend anyway.
Well, since I'm dealing with the emergency management system, I'll throw myself under the bus for an alternate.
I'll second that. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, something I want to point out for next month's appointments. Harold Hall down there, he hasn't been to the last 6 meetings. And
Who?
Harold, in your district, DD. So you might want to give him a call and see if he still wants to stay on, and tell him we'd like to have him come to the meetings. Okay, if he's not interested, in find somebody else that will come to the meetings. All right. I think we're down to new business. Victim Witness Program, grant conditions.
We've received notice of award for the Victim Witness Program. Naturally, we always receive these after the fiscal year has begun. But as you may recall, the grant award has doubled, which will provide a second employee for this program, and a portion of the first year grant was proposed to be used to renovate the old law library across from the circuit courtroom to create 2 offices in that space and a small, very small waiting area. And Donna Cobb, the current victim witness advocate, has attached a letter explaining that DCJS is now requesting that the county be responsible, rather than them covering the full cost of the renovations. They would like the county to cover the cost of the HVAC unit. And I understand their theory in that, and they're saying that even though the other is renovation and creating the offices, the HVAC unit will be a permanent installation with that office and will be an asset for the county regardless of what that space is used for. They had a quote from Southwest Heating and Air for estimating purposes on doing all the renovation work. They have given 2 options in that space. One would be to install a 2-ton ductless split system heat pump, which would have a 12,000 BTU wall-mounted unit in each of the 2 offices. And the roof, the outside unit would be roof-mounted. The cost of that would be $7,500. The second option that he provided would be to utilize the existing through-the-wall unit, which is a motel-style unit, in one office, and then add a second one of those for the second office. That would be about $3,000 to install, and that's not the cost of the unit. Those units are not that expensive, but to do that option, you've got to cut a hole in the wall about the size of this desk. The face of it, not the whole desk, but the face of it. That's about how much space one of those units would take up. It's a little bit smaller, but close to that. So that's a portion of the cost, is just the install. The small waiting room is not included and should require only minimal heating and cooling. It'll actually probably feed off of the hallway. But we could add to the split system, but you would actually be, the smallest unit they can get in those type of units is a 9,000 BTU, and that would be way oversized, so it would be more than it would cost more than what you'd really be, what you need in that small waiting area, and I think the waiting area would be fine without it.
Is the issue that the money that they're getting is not going to cover this, or that they're using it up towards something else?
Well,
I understand that it's going to be in the courthouse will benefit from it from now on, but when we talked about last time, that's what that money was getting used for, to was create that space.
right. and that was the plan. It's after everything has been done that they're coming back and requesting that the county pay for that portion of it. They're still willing to allow grant funds to be paid for the other renovations, to actually create the two offices and the waiting room. It's just the HVAC unit that they would like the county to pay the cost of, since they see that more as a permanent fixture for the building, not for the use of their offices per se.
So, but what I'm asking is the grant funding that we spend, will that department still get that money to
Yes,
be used for the
they
community?
still get the full amount of the grant.
So really, we're just paying something that
We're-
would benefit.
Yeah, we're just basically putting up leverage funds, $7,500. We'll be getting $100,000 regardless, and a portion of that $100,000 will go to renovate that space. But it will cost us $7,500 roughly to install, well, if you go with that. And I would not recommend the through the wall.
No, we knock the hole in the wall, then half the building will fall, and then we'll be sitting here with a
Well,
$500,000 fix.
those are not efficient type units. They're used in motels, but they're just, they're not efficient for long-term usage. You're better off pay a little bit more and get a better product.
But we have to put the unit in for them to proceed with. what
We would have to
they're-
pay that cost. It would all be done at the time we're doing the renovation. We could begin the renovation project, which would be paid through grant funds, but we would pay that portion of it. We would just exclude that from any contracted work we did and have that done separate.
What's the second office for?
A second person. See, that with $100,000, and they anticipate that will continue. We won't be hiring that second person, or they won't be immediately. They need to do the renovations first. So the money you would be paying out for salary for the first few months of the grant will actually go towards renovating the space. And then basically for the second half of the year, you'll be hiring a second individual, and you'll have two victim witness advocates then working. You'll be able to work both courtrooms at the same time, instead of one trying to split time between the two many days. But it would be as long as the grant funds are there, the original position is grant funded, but as long as the grant funds are there, it would be a permanent position.
I'll make a motion for the roof mounted outside unit, it costs $7,500.
All right, you want to include acceptance of the grant in that motion?
And acceptance of the grant.
Hey, now, will we have other, back up or just secondary, we'll have some more estimates on that?
I can get some additional ones.
Yeah, let's do that.
This one was just provided preliminary, it wasn't done as a strict bid. It was just a quote to get an estimate for what the renovations would cost.
Yeah, let's.
Well, how about the motion would be to put the roof unit on the best bid
Right.
and proceed forward with the grant?
Well, the whole project will have to be bid. The renovation project itself will have to be bid. Again, they got an estimate from one contractor.
So basically, we just need, he's making a motion for us to go ahead and go forward with this, and then after that,
Yes,
we get
we'll bid it out in the components that it needs.
Okay. I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, next item is the 911 street sign maintenance quotes. Mr. Bailey had shared that he had two vendors that had submitted quotes last month. Had an opportunity to do some evaluation on that. The pricing is a little bit different, so had to sort of price out some full signs and some various options and things that we might be requesting to get an idea of which one would be the better option. Based on that evaluation, I recommend that signs and designs will be the lower cost option for the services. Mr. Bailey was out of town when I was completing that evaluation, and when he returned, talked to him about it, he had come to the same conclusion that he felt that signs and designs would be the better option. Both the vendors that we heard from, both Signs and Designs and New Age Graphics, are in Wise. The one thing that the pricing on individual signs may appear a little cheaper on one than the other, but when you get down into the labor costs, New Age would be charging $75 an hour labor from the time they leave their shop till the time they return to their shop. And so with the installation costs that were provided by Signs and Designs and the overall cost of signs and posts and everything, we feel that they'll be the best option for us.
What is installation cost per sign?
They price,
That might be a good community service project.
you gotta have the equipment and you
It's
gotta.
gonna take a whole lot of wrench.
And you've got to take, no, you got to have post drivers. And you have to take other people with
Draw
them.
back the weak mind, but.
You've got to send other people out. You still have to have staff members go out with them in order to accomplish that. Initially, the plan was for us to do the work ourselves, but it became overwhelming in a hurry.
So how many signs are we looking at having replaced?
This is an ongoing contract. I mean, it's for ongoing maintenance. How many they've got right now, I don't know, because the previous vendor had not been doing them. He's not been doing any for several months. So I'm sure he's got quite a few out there on the backlog that need to be done.
What are the sizes, Dane, or the different?
Yes, different signs.
They're different.
It depends on the location, it depends on the street name length. Depending on how many letters are in the street name as to how long the blade has to be. Then you've got a difference, you got the 6-inch blade, 6-inch wide and the 9-inch wide. 6-inch wide are typically used on all the secondaries and post roads. The 9-inch I think are only provided on divided highways. I'm not sure about full primaries, but I think only on 4-lane roads where you use the 9-inch blades where they're more visible. I don't have all the standards with me, but
I would have one suggestion about any new signs that are put up with directional arrows on them, that they be made a little bit larger.
the arrows, yeah. The
About
initial,
have to stop to look
yeah,
at
the
it.
initial ones, that was not a good deal. I've seen them in other areas where they're much larger. I mean, you can't have them too large,
Right.
but I've seen them where they're much more visible. Those came from the initial signed contract
Right.
with PSI. But we do have a backlog in work that needs to be done, so the sooner we can get someone started to clean up or start getting signs back out where they belong.
I make a
Well,
motion,
labor's not cheap.
I'll make a motion, we accept Signs and Designs bid for maintenance of our road signs.
You're gonna add your concerns to that motion, Larry?
No, I think it can be worked out.
Okay, all right. I hear a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Can he add that onto his report, Dane, by the way? Can he add that onto his report on sign replacement? He ought to have to be able to document that somewhere, shouldn't
Add what onto it?
he? The sign replacement. If we
Oh,
got
how
40
many
signs,
have
we
been
need replaced,
replaced during the quarter?
yeah,
Yeah, we can
to
do
have an
that.
idea of what's this running.
Well, the first quarter is probably gonna be high because
Yeah, because you said.
of the
back
backlog.
a few months.
Yeah, and then it'll be high during winter and during the summer when it's mowing the snow plow in the winter.
Yeah. The next item, item D there, you have a copy of the resignation letter of the purchasing clerk receptionist in our office. That's for informational purposes. We'll talk to you about that a little bit later in closed session.
Okay.
Next item It's just a general upkeep and maintenance issue, and I felt it was time to address this. Mr. Collinsworth and I had a conversation about a month ago about this to some extent, or 3 weeks ago. But the Ewing School property, of course, the community group appeared last month, was it? Or last month, and advised that they had bought the old Morley Memorial Church. They had previously come before the board and asked that you would donate the school property to them once they got their organization formed and everything in order, but I think after looking at it more closely, they felt like it was more than they could take on, so that's, yeah, that's why they've taken on the other. But the facility has been heavily vandalized. Of the 3 schools that were closed, unfortunately, this one is the one that apparently was targeted. The other 2 have been, they received very minor damage, if any, during the time that we held them, but this one has really been taking a hit. And I feel like it's time we need to take action to either preserve what's left or salvage anything that we can. That was one of the things that Gary had asked about, possibly if there's any lights left in it, trying to get in and salvage some things that could be used, and then potentially just demolish the structure before it gets to be a bigger problem than what it is now. Also, the old extension office building down here, since they've now moved, it's vacant. We have a few items left in there, some filing cabinets, a few things that still need to be moved out, but that will be taken care of within the next 60 days. And you hopefully will recall that during the budgeting process to trim the budget, we removed all funding for demolition of that property. So there is nothing in the budget now to handle that work. So any work to either of these buildings or the demolition of either building would require funds to be appropriated in order to take them down. I don't know about the Ewing School, and this is not a high-ticket item usually, but it is an additional cost. I know with the old building down here that the extension office used, there is some 9-inch tile in there. That's usually a pretty clear indication that it's asbestos tile, so it would have to have some abatement work before it was demolished. And we might be looking at something similar at the school. I don't know. It just depends. A lot of times you find 12-inch tile, but when you pull that 12-inch tile up, you'll find a 9-inch tile under it. And they chose to leave that 9-inch tile. It's perfectly fine to have asbestos material in a building as long as you don't disturb it. When you disturb it, then you've got to deal with the abatement. So both of these would need to be checked for asbestos materials before they were demolished. I also want to make you aware that the new board members, the county does own a tract of land here in the west end of Jonesville, just slightly over an acre, that was originally purchased in hopes of locating a new extension office there. We went through the bidding process on a new building there, and site work for that location, the soils test for a commercial building. For a residential building, it's fine. But when you get into commercial building requirements, the site work and the soil samples that came out was going to require quite a bit of site work to be done in order to locate a building there, which pushed the cost up considerably. And that's when the other option became available in Pennington. So we do have that land. At the present time, I'm not aware of any planned use for the property. It's more for Gary and his crew to keep mowed. So it's not that much, about an acre. It doesn't take them a long time, but it does have to be mowed, and especially here in town. If you're not familiar exactly where it's at, it's just below the old Grable supermarket down here at the end of the straightaway in Jonesville before you start making the turn to go around to the middle school. It does have access on 2 streets. It fronts on Main Street. There's a house there, actually a house on both sides of it, but it does, portion of the property fronts there on the street at the sidewalk, and then it has access off of, I believe, Johnson Street that runs down through there off of Main. So just food for thought. That old building down there, we put up cable, Gary and him concreted in posts and put up cables, and they tore them down. Hit them hard enough to tear the posts out, concrete and all. And so anyway, Just wanted you to be aware of that. Also, don't have exact numbers tonight, but we do have an issue in some of the offices that we're going to need to replace some carpet very soon. District Court Clerk's office is in bad need of carpet replacement, but I'd like to look at all the carpet on the first floor on this end was replaced at the same time, I think in about 03 or 04. So it's all about the same age. Theirs has suffered worse than anybody's. The seams have just unraveled. There's wide areas where there's no carpet. We've got one location in our offices that is that way, and then a lot of staining that will not come out. I've looked just quickly at the treasurer's office and the commissioner's office. A lot of theirs is covered up, so it's hard to see it, but the wire is there. So probably just wait and come back next month and maybe propose doing a general recarpeting of several of the offices to do it all at one time. And the one thing I was looking at, because we do have areas where it's just foot traffic wire, possibly look at going with carpet tiles this time rather than roll carpet. The tiles, I had a concern. I discussed it with a rep from Lane that was over at the transfer station doing the punch list last week about whether the ends on tiles would curl up with heavy cabinets on them. We've got some fireproof filing cabinets down there about the width of this desk that are really heavy, even when they're empty. And he said really they should work. There's two different styles of carpet tiles you can get at the backing, either rubber or jute. He was going to make a recommendation on that, but I'd like to look and also give consideration to the third floor here. I don't think third floor has been replaced since it was installed. I'm not, well, probably in the early 90s was the last time that was done. So, but it's work that needs to be done. The advantage to going ahead and doing all of it at once, we can buy one lot of carpet, everything will match, and we can, if we buy the tiles, you buy a 15 to 20% overage, so that you have excess tiles in storage that you'll have. And if you have wear pattern areas that wear out faster than others, or areas under desks that wear out, you just pull up the tiles that are affected and replace them, and the carpet will match. Same carpet manufacturer may make the same brand and name and style of carpet for 20 years. But I'll guarantee you can buy it 3 different times during that 20-year period and try to match it up with what you've already got, and it won't match. There'll be a difference in it in the lots a lot of times as to how they run it. But anyway, I'll give you a little more full report on that next
I
month.
mean, couldn't they put tile, like right there where they've got carpet so far, and then the tile, especially your walking traffic areas, couldn't they just make them your regular tile?
You mean vinyl tile?
Yeah.
The only thing,
How's that?
vinyl tile will last as long as you want to clean it and wax it. As long as you can strip it and wax it, it pretty much going to last if you keep working it. When you move into office areas, if an office never changes, if the furniture always sits exactly the way it is, and that's hard to do in some offices, if it always sits in the same place, you could potentially do that. Now, one thing you do, you increase noise with tile. Carpet absorbs sound, and especially footprints and stuff. So anytime anybody's walking on the floor through the offices, especially if they have heels on or hard soles or something, you're going to have a lot more noise in each of the offices too.
With tile.
Yeah.
I was just talking about like when you
Wire
walk in
area, heavy
doors
wire
and,
areas.
you know, where most of your walking is.
Yeah.
That was the only thing. And I understand if you have to move stuff, like them
Yeah,
fireproof things, they're extremely heavy.
My office, the furniture's changed a little bit, but I've not moved in 20 years. I'm sitting in the same spot I was sitting in the day I walked in, because there's not much way to change that room around and get everything in there.
I was just talking about maybe the doorway,
Mhm.
you know, a lot of
The
people do it at
entry
their
area,
house.
yeah.
Because I'd say that's probably a lot of your wear and tear, just people coming in, 'cause that's be your most spot.
Yeah.
Let's just maybe do it areas like that.
We put in tile in the office, type of tile in the office
Carpet
2
tile?
years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago. And where our heavy filing cabinets, we have I don't know, probably 15 filing cabinets in a row on both sides, completely full. And there's no problems at all with turning it out. Also, I had some left over, and I put it down in the basement where there's moisture, and have no problems at all down there with it coming up. So it's good stuff.
Okay. I have a couple other things that I had put down under reports and recommendations, but I can go ahead and cover them now, because the only other thing on the agenda is a request for closed session there. But I go ahead and wrap mine up if that's all right, and have that out of the way. We have the IDA and the Board of Supervisors. Previously, we'd had a committee of each that would meet periodically. We've sort of gotten off schedule and meeting. We haven't met in quite a while. And I don't think it's been brought up before this board, but, excuse me, we would need a couple of individuals who'd be willing to either volunteer, or if the chair wants to appoint two of you to serve on a committee. It's just get together, hopefully quarterly or at least a couple of times a year, just to, discuss issues. I think they have 2 or 3 members on there, 2 members. And, okay, usually it's just those 2, our 2, and the director and myself, just sort of update each other on what the other's doing and things that may be coming up, that each one can report back to their full board. So they're proposing to try to meet sometime between now and the 1st of September, which is your all's next board meeting date, I think. So this would be sometime next week. Next week, excuse me. If you want to go ahead and make appointments or ask for volunteers.
Okay.
Everybody step forward at the same time, I think.
I mean, I was on that committee, it's just, we've not met since last year. I mean, what, November, October?
September, October.
Yeah, earlier.
I don't mind doing it. I can do it. See you next week.
So do we have 2 volunteers?
DD night.
Okay.
I wouldn't get it done a quarter, but I could have next week. That'd be reasonable.
What if I show up?
Chiefs meeting.
Pardon?
What if I show up?
Then it's a meeting of the Board of Supervisors, and it's going to have to be.
Yeah.
You can have my spot, Charlie, if you want. I just,
You can
We'll get that firmed up, which day. And the other thing I've got is, Mr. Lurch mentioned there earlier, the VACO annual conference is coming up in November. It's November the 13th through the 15th. It starts on Sunday evening and continues through midday Tuesday of that week. It's always the same time every year. Conference is held at the Homestead in Hot Springs, Virginia.
13th through what?
13th through the 15th. And yeah, I meant to bring this up last month and I failed to bring it with me, but I need to know probably within the next week, no more than 2 weeks, if you want to attend, because what they do, they hold a block of rooms, they hold 3 per county for a period of time, and then they release that block if they aren't claimed by that time. What I could do, I could go ahead and put a hold on for all 3, but if more than 3 are needed, I need to know soon so we can get on the list for the excess rooms. Usually there's enough room for everybody. We've never had that many to go, but if you are interested, please let me know. Hopefully by the end of next week, let's say, by the end of end of August, I would need to know if you plan to attend. And I'll go ahead and try to get the reservations made. And that's all I have for open session.
Okay. Okay, we are in recess.
You want to take a recess?
Yeah, we'll take a recess.
All right.
Maybe you got it.
Are we